What's up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and as most of you know by now, the game announced the other day that they're going to be introducing some raid-exclusive gear into the general loot pool, and two of the pieces are the Foundry backpack and the Foundry chest. Therefore, today, I wanted to show you one of the many builds you can put together with these gear set pieces. Now, they're not going to be introduced into the general loot pool until Title Update 15 comes out. Therefore, I'm also including another video I did a while back. It's a complete and total legendary tank build as well and has no raid exclusives at all. So one of the things I mention at the beginning of every build video I put together is I always want to remind, especially new and returning players, that this is just a template. This is one of so many different ways you can run with a build like this. The most important thing is try out different variations and make a build your own. Therefore, you may decide after you look at this build, you know what, I want to swap out this piece for that. I want more weapon damage, a little less armor because I have a shield. I don't need that much armor. You know, it all depends on your gameplay. And one thing I also want to mention is I am absolutely awful with a handgun. Like, I do not use it as often as I should. I need to become much more proficient with it. So again, the more proficient you are, obviously you're hitting more headshots and doing a lot more damage than you're seeing here. As always, I'm starting off with a little bit of gameplay footage, then we're going to get into the build breakdown itself, and then at the end of the video some more footage, and at that point I like to pass along a few tips to new and returning players which should hopefully help you get started anytime you're trying out a new build. You can see here I'm on floor 10 of the summit doing one of my favorite farming methods, and honestly, you're just a complete and total bullet sponge, and it's so much fun to do. I mean, the thing is this, you know, if your back is to the corner, you're good to go. You really do not have to worry about anything breaking that shield, so for those of you who are just trying to jump into Legendary, I strongly recommend a build like this. So starting off with the specialization for the first build, we're using Technician for a bunch of different reasons. First of all, you're going to get a 12% damage to drones, skill proxies, and robotics, which come in handy because you're doing legendary. You get an extra skill tier as well, and you also have the use of the Artificer Hive. Using that will really help with your shield health, and remember, regardless of which specialization you choose, always make sure you have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you always get a 15% weapon damage bonus. Now jumping into the build, starting off with my primary weapon, and honestly the only weapon I use for this build is the Liberty pistol. Again, if you have it, you can use that. If you have the Regulus, I strongly recommend that. Now if you don't have either of those, I recommend using the D50 handgun with, let's say, a talent close and personal, something like that on there. You can also use a TDI card, which will give you an extra skill tier. So again, try out different variations and see which works best for you. Moving on to the gear itself, you can see I'm using one piece of Overlord, one piece of Douglas and Harding, and 4 pieces of the Foundry gear set. Now starting off with the mask, it's a one piece of Douglas and Harding. Now it's the named mask Punch Drunk, and this is, I think, still a Dark Zone exclusive item. However, right now there is a global event going on, Reanimated, and during that event you can earn stars and buy named caches and legacy caches, those of which do have Dark Zone exclusive items. So for those of you that don't like hitting up the DZ, that is another option to get this mask. Moving on to the body armor, this is the first piece of the Foundry gear set we're using, and this is one of the pieces that are going to be introduced into the general loot pool with Title Update 15. You can see we're using all 4 pieces so we get all of the gear set bonuses, and they are: the 2-piece bonus gives you 10% total armor, the 3-piece gives you 1% armor regen and 50% shield health, and the 4-piece is makeshift repairs. Whenever you or your shield take damage, 20% of that amount is repaired to both over 15 seconds. However, since you have the chest piece, you have the talent improved materials, which increases makeshift repairs from 20% to 30%. Moving on to the holster, it's the second piece of the Foundry gear set, and pretty much all these pieces I'm trying to stack armor, regen, and protection from elites. Now we move on to the knee pads. I'm using Fox's Prayer because of that 8% damage to targets out of cover. You can see I also re-rolled my core attribute to armor. You may not need that. I'm sitting at 1.6 now, 1.4 should be good to go. You can see here with the gloves I did the same thing, added weapon damage, but again, try out those different variations, see what works best for your gameplay. Finally, my friends, we have the backpack. Now I'm showing you the Foundry one so you can see the talent, which is Process Refinery, which increases makeshift repair speed from 15 seconds to 10 seconds. However, with this category, there are so many different options you can choose from. You can run with a Memento, which is highly effective. You could also decide, you know what, I want a piece of Bellstone, I'm going to put the talent, Adrenaline Rush on there, go from there. Or if you have the Matador, you can try that if you don't need as much armor. Now, as I promised, we are going to jump into a legendary legendary build that has no raid exclusive items attached to it. Now this footage you're looking at is probably, I think, at the end of last year that I put this thing together. It is still my go-to solo or group legendary tank build. I absolutely love the thing. And you can see, even without having the chest piece or the backpack, you're still a total bullet sponge. I mean, it's still so much fun to use. It's a great way to really get used to, running legendary. I recommend starting off on the summit. We'll go over that in a minute, but right now let's go over this build breakdown. So a few of the aspects are exactly the same as the previous build. I'm using the same specialization, and I'm also using the Liberty as my primary weapon. Again, if you don't have it, Regulus, D50, something like that. Now you can see by the gear, I've changed the chest piece and the backpack. Now starting off with the chest piece, it's one piece of Douglas and Harding, so we get that extra pistol bonus. However, you can see I've chosen the talent Intimidate, but we all know that that talent is about to have a major change made to it. Now at this point, I have no idea what the build is actually going to feel like once they make that change. Now, of course, as soon as all of the new stuff comes out with Title Update 15, I'll be bringing you a bunch of builds and different variations of things you can do, all that stuff. So once I have that information, I will definitely pass it along. As far as the rest of the gear is concerned, I'm still running 4 pieces of Foundry. I'm using the face mask, the holster, the knee pads, and the gloves. And on every piece, just like before, I'm still trying to stack armor regen and protection from elites. Which now brings us to the backpack, my friends. And again, you can run with the Memento, you can run with what I'm doing, a piece of Bellstone, where I have the talent Adrenaline Rush on there. I absolutely love that talent. And the main reason I don't use the Memento is because, as I mentioned earlier, my time to kill is pretty slow with this build because I'm really not that good using a handgun. However, this build for me works out really well. Again, it is dependent on that talent Intimidate on the chest. So like I said, when that nerf happens, we'll see what it looks like. Most of you know by now that one of my favorite aspects about putting build videos together is the community we have here at the channel, and not only at the channel, in the Division community as well. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, different ways you'd like to run with a build like this, please let me know in the comment section down below. For instance, I know that some of you like a much more aggressive build. I know that yesterday Mark of Blades actually put out a solo legendary build using the Regulus. I mean, he's just one-tapping enemies left and right. It's insane. I will leave a link to that in the description down below. I know that Von Doom's put out a lot of videos as well, so again, you have a lot of options to choose from. With all that being said, I'm going to start to wrap this up. As always, I want to take a moment and thank you all for your amazing support at the channel. We have a lot of things to look forward to, my friends. With Title Update 15, there are going to be new builds, there's going to be so much stuff to do. I can't wait to share it with you, and again, I sincerely appreciate your being a part of this family. At this point, I'm going to let the rest of the video play out. However, as I mention at the end of every video, if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit that like button as well. But most importantly, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone.